Hello, Julian.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, you know your dodgy knee?
Oh, yes, give me some jip at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's joint rot, that is.
Is it? I thought it was osteoarthritis.
It's actually the same thing. So I'm going to get Hannah Capon from CAM to explain all about it.
All right. Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Mike Brampton, and my name is Julian Hoad. Welcome to Veterinary Ramblings.
Hi, how are you?
Pleased to see you again. Mike is pleased to meet you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Fantastic. Yay, we got ourselves a show.
But what are we going to talk about?
Let's carry on talking about camper vans because I think they're great. Why do you find yourself in a camper van, and whereabouts in France are you?
Oh, so I've just got to Hosiga, and I was in North Spain, and I must admit I prefer North Spain. North Spain is cheaper,
Right.
greener. People seem a lot more friendly, etc.
Just north side of the Pyrenees, isn't it?
Yes. So my laptop has been through the desert, and every now and then it gets a little bit angry with me because I think it collected a little bit of sand. But so I'm in Hosiga. I've literally just got to my project manager's van. He's got a Renault shitness because it keeps blowing up. It's blown up about 4 times now. So I've literally just got to Hosiga so that I can console him before we try and make it our way back up to France. But we've been away for 10 months now.
What is this project? You and somebody else are in 2 camper vans traveling where?
Okay, so basically, let's go back to the beginning. So Cam was an accident. Cam started many years ago, 2013, 2014.
Right, hang on.
Now, hold on, because Mike
doesn't know what CAM
many
is.
of our listeners may not know that CAM is Canine Arthritis Management.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's start from the beginning, then you'll understand why I decided to go and live in a camper van for a year.
Let's do that. And in about an hour and a half, we'll circle back to camper vans.
And then we'll talk about camper vans.
Sounds good to me.
2013, I had a bit of an epiphany at work. I was working in Brighton. I was working in a little branch practice, and I had 2 consults back to back, and they were both PTSs for dogs that couldn't walk anymore. And I think it was the enormity, the fact that they were back to back, they were both black Labradors. It just, I don't know, it hit me. I was like, this is crazy. Everything else is fine. They've got a glossy coat, their teeth are clean, heart's fine. Why don't we do more? I don't understand that we're so good at all the other systems, but when it comes to arthritis management, it seems to be a one-trick pony, and when it doesn't work, it's broken and that's it. So I had a little bit of a light bulb, and I decided to go and learn a little bit more. And I went off the beaten track because there wasn't really any CPD about OA at that point. There was a one-day course by the RVC. So I ended up going off the beaten track, and I ended up hanging out with the canine professionals, and I've got a lot of respect for them. And I think our industry really does need to. And I started seeing things from a different angle. I started being taught about how to identify the signs of chronic pain in posture, behavior, etc. And it really changed the way that I worked, because I started being like that kid out of Sixth Sense, where I'd be in practice, be like, he's broken. They started appearing like ghosts, and you're like, there's a lot going on. There are many, many problems that we need to do. And I decided to try and entrepreneur it. I decided to go freelance. So I was working in the day as a vet, but at the weekends and in the evenings, I'd go to people's houses and offer this kind of more bespoke service where I was taking vet knowledge, my new learning, I was using massage, I was giving exercise advice, nutrition advice. And that's where this hashtag we have called #YourDogMoreYears comes from, because I was getting more years. These dogs were doing so well. And I was like, I'm onto something. This works. So then I did further courses, etc. But I was also going through my eco-warrior phase, where you realize that the world is actually destined to doom, and we should all be doing more, and we should be looking after our communities more. We should be looking after each other. We should be more aware of what we consume and how we portray ourselves. And I was thinking to myself, how can I help more than one? I'm spending an hour and a half to 2 hours with one person and helping one dog, but there's thousands that need helping. So if I get permission from that owner to take photos, do video recordings, take their cases, if I put it on a Facebook page, I might be able to help 10 people in the same amount of time, 100 people, through vicarious learning. And so I started doing that, and it just went crazy. And even I was like, whoa, I'm at 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 followers really quickly. So there was a real thirst for it, but from a different sector, not the vet sector, from the canine professionals and our clients, the caregivers.
So the canine professionals, Hannah, you mean physiotherapists, massage treatments, other complementary, we used to call them complementary, facetry.
Yes. Massage therapists, hydrotherapists, behaviorists, dog walkers, pet shop owners. The whole canine world is way bigger than us. The vet industry is actually very small, but when you look at all the people that work with dogs in different angles of attack, they completely swamp us. And they're very thirsty for knowledge. They're very thirsty to do the right thing. They want to be the best that they can be. And it's very competitive as well. Dog trainers are competitive, behaviorists are competitive. So there was a real thirst for knowledge in that sector. But I kept finding, and I did tell you, I do love my industry. This isn't a diss, but I was finding I was hitting a bit of obstruction in the vet world. I had comments like arthritis is boring. They've got to die of something. That was a good one. That was quite a powerful one once.
What?
Yeah.
No,
my life
these
harder.
from vets in practice, or these from the people
Yeah.
in the centres of higher learning?
Yeah, and you can get it. Like, I don't I'm not negative towards them, because vets are already working ridiculously hard. So the next comment of, are you trying to make my life more difficult, really gives a lot of sentiment of how people feel in practice at the moment. They're already really working as hard as they can to have some person with these high ideals to come in and say, hey, we should detect more, we should detect them earlier, we should offer greater multimodal management plans. Who is she? Does she not get it? We're burnt out. So I do get that. But I did find that I kept hitting a bit of a wall with regards to that tangent. I'm very flitty. I move around a lot. So I'm not making an assumption of one vet practice. I'm making an assumption of many vet practices that I worked at whilst I was locuming, doing emergency work, etc. So it's not an individual, narrow-minded point of view. It was a generalist kind of response that I had. So I decided to sidetrack, and I decided to focus much more on the caregiver and the canine professional, with the hope that if vets realized that people wanted these services, then they would feel, right, I'm going to find the energy, I'm going to find the resources, because this is wanted. It's not a waste of my time. So I did it the other way around. That was my plan. That's
brilliant. And I guess I've heard you speak, and I've read some of the stuff that you've written, you and your team. And you're singing from the same Bible that I use, which is, there is more we can do, why aren't we doing it? And I think you're absolutely right. A lot of vets are burnt out. A lot of vets are struggling to find time for primary instantaneous care. And arthritis is a long-term multimodal management that they can't get their head around a lot of the time, because it means not only dishing out some medication, but also listening to the clients.
Yeah.
Now, that's this great buzzword that's really going on at the moment called contextualized care, isn't it?
It's almost like salt in the wound, isn't it? When you're already working really hard, and then you get some jumped up snot rag on stage, i.e. me, going, hey, everybody, let's do some contextual care. You'd be like, do you want to shove it? I'm already busy.
But the thing is, these are vets who, without anything else to do, would be thinking, what can we do? What can we do to make our patients' lives better? And they look at this problem and think, wow, same thing as you, there's so much more we can do. But they can't. And so there has to be a realization that actually, if they can't, there are people who can.
Yes.
And so why aren't they referring them? Why aren't they referring the clients to your services?
Well, this is the thing. Okay, we're trying all different angles of attack. So I want CAM to remain very fiercely independent, because I want us to be able to be truthful about products, beliefs, etc. And as soon as we start getting into bed with different companies, we're going to have that taken away from us. So we always look at how we can self-fund, and CAM now costs about £11,000 to £12,000 a month to run, because we've got our graphics design team, we've got our writing team, we've got our education outreach, we've got our web designers, we've got all of the hosting platforms. So I've got to find that money from somewhere, hence living in a camper van I don't actually take
It's
much
just-
money from the company because there is no money to take. But we've looked at different ways to fund CAM, and we do education, we do consultancy, we do big events like the Chronic Symposium that's just been, and the Big Walk, which is coming up. But I am trying to find that sweet spot where we can have money coming in through educating, supporting, providing them the services that they need to make their lives easier. CAM has grown and grown, but it's always been fighting like financial restrictions. And I felt that I either sold my soul and got into bed with people, and then it would potentially change the content, or I need to invest less time into it and chase the dollar for myself. Or I always thought that I wanted to travel more, and why not travel now? Why not do bucket list and reduce my overheads so that I'm not a financial burden on CAM? And I think it's been the right decision, because whilst driving around for the last 10 months, a lot of people that save these big epic whatever it is, they're so disabled by the time that they get here. They sit in their camper vans watching TV. Seriously. So they've got these £100,000 motorhomes, and they go to caravan parks so that they have hookup, and they watch TV. And you're like, there's a problem here.
They haven't quite got the idea of learning the new culture, have they, there?
No, because they're so broken, because they're quite old, because they've worked really hard all their lives for that moment to go traveling. So I'm giving you a little bit of coaching advice, you two. Don't leave it. Crack on.
Mike's cracking on. I'll tell you about that in a moment.
But yes, so that's why I'm in a camper van.
Okay, that's good. Good answer. Good answer.
Why are you just north of the Pyrenees in France, having travelled through Spain from Morocco?
Because I'm sadly on my way home. It always had to come to an end. And it's partly because of EU visas and all this stuff. But no, it's about time that I go back into practice. I've spent a year putting my heart and soul into CAM. I've done it once before. And now I need to actually start thinking about me again. It's been an exciting year. Don't get me wrong. It's been fun. I've done a lot of lecturing abroad. I've been to Latvia, Poland, Frankfurt, China, America twice, back to the UK twice, all whilst just traveling. That's really exciting, because you get to go to these really weird and wacky airports. Agadir, just so you know, you can actually park your car in front of the front doors to departure and leave it there for a week. Who would have known? Such a small airport. You don't have to get a bus. You don't have to get a SkyTrain. You just park it there, and it's about a £5.
Well, don't do that at Gatwick, anyone. That won't work.
Yeah. So as you say, in the UK, it's a £5 just to drop off at the airport now, isn't it?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, it is. Any longer than 3 minutes, and it's £100 fine or something, isn't it? Something about money. Anyway, I'm sure people are tuning in to Veterinary Rambles to listen to other things than how much it costs to leave your car at Gatwick.
I don't know, actually, because I spoke to somebody the other day and they were saying you haven't covered airport car park fees.
I was going to say, we can't just talk about Gatwick, because there's Southampton.
Yeah.
That's quite close to you and I, Mike.
Yeah.
Now, that's a nice place. That is nice. Not a lot quieter. There's Heathrow, which is awful.
Newquay, lovely.
You've still got to
lovely.
pay. You still have to pay drop-off fees at Southampton.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Not in Newquay.
Yeah, you do. But you give them to a little old lady who sat in a booth.
Yeah, sort of.
All right, love, in you come. There we go.
Yeah.
I think we should bring that culture back, personally. Having driven through France, Portugal, Spain, and say into Morocco, the fact that we're all becoming automated and everything's just card and no face is sad. In other countries where they still have people in toll booths and they have people at car park attendants, it's just such a nicer experience. You're like, hi, how are you? Great, I'm going to look after your car. You're like, thanks. Here's
Yeah, and at tills in supermarkets. You want someone to say, "Oh, looks nice. You're cooking something nice tonight, love."
No, I don't. I find that intrusive. What's that to you?
That's right.
What's that to you?
They are wooden chips.
Get
No,
lost.
don't do that. That's very British. And having been in many countries now, I realise that we definitely do have a legacy. People believe we are a certain ilk, a certain behaviour. I went through the Algarve. Bit
And
embarrassing.
Oh,
why?
bit Brits abroad.
Brits abroad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very.
Didn't Clive Dunn have a restaurant in the Algarve? when
Don't
he
tell him,
retired from
Pike. I
Dad's army?
was going to say, don't tell him, Pike.
Oh,
Permission to open a restaurant, Mr. Penrington.
I like that.
The Portuguese, they not like that.
No. Portugal's lovely. Portugal's very nice.
I'm still trying to get my head around. You're driving around this van all around Europe. Is this on behalf of CAM or doing CAM work? Or is this because you want to travel around Europe in a camper van and you happen to represent CAM?
Okay, so basically, believe it or not, it's quite all encompassing. So you end up finding yourself on social media a lot, writing blogs, doing consultancy, making new resources. There's a lot going on. So we're just setting up a new podcast. We're just releasing a new resource. We're doing a couple of webinars for some different dog training colleges around the world. So it consumes. And I was being consumed in the UK and having no life. So I was working as a vet 3 days a week, one night on call, 1 weekend. And the rest of the time I was doing CAM. And I was like, do you know what? This is not the existence that I planned. I know I'm doing a good thing. I believe in what I'm doing. And it was when my project manager said, I'd quite like to become a digital nomad. I'm off. See ya. Nothing you can do about it. I was like, oh, that's going to be really upsetting if I see you on Zoom from a beach in Morocco checking in. So I thought, actually, I'll go too. And it was a bit of a rash decision. It was kind of like, right, sod it, I'm doing it. It's been amazing, but it has also had the benefit, as I say, it's not put huge overheads on CAM. And I've been able to work on CAM. I wake up in a different location every 3 or 4 days. I get to see the world. Yeah, it's worked.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Sounds brilliant.
Because that's what I've been doing, isn't it, Julian?
It is. It is.
What have you been doing?
More northern than you.
No, I wasn't going to talk about that because I don't necessarily get to do work when I'm doing that stuff.
Oh, so you don't work?
Yeah, I work. I run a company, but I've just spent 6 weeks in Spain.
Have you?
Yeah.
Where?
Living up a
Whereabouts?
mountain.
Oh, nice.
To
Spain
where?
or South Spain?
South Spain.
Oh, I quite like North more, to be honest.
That's fine. That's okay. Drove down there. 6 weeks in a lovely little place up in the mountains. Drove back home again.
What's your company, by the way?
That's advertising, and we haven't paid for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We
I
won't,
can say
we won't
that's
mention
Thames
them.
Medical. Thames Medical for all of your pulse oximetry and Doppler blood testing.
You're that dude. Okay, I
What?
get it now. Yeah, it's fine.
What did-
It's
what
all
did you
coming
say?
together.
What did you say?
You're that dude.
He's that
What?
dude.
Why?
He is that Mike, that dude. Yeah.
What?
You'll have seen him at BSAVA congresses throughout the years.
Yeah. You don't work on the stand anymore, though, do you? You're above that. You're not.
No. No. I work on the stand.
I think you spend more time in the bar, probably.
I've never seen him at the bar.
Never.
No, I've never been to the bar, so I wouldn't have seen him.
Outrageous slanders.
Technically, we're taping this, so it's a libel.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Outrageous
myself.
libel.
Mind you, it's true.
It's most of the networking is done in the bar, isn't it? I'm proud to say that I was the last person to leave BVA conference hall, having mind swept for the last half hour. And then I was the last person to leave their after party, hanging out with the delightful Heather Bacon and crew. And we made sure that we networked till the end.
Nothing wrong with the networking. That makes. I see. It's community, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's being part of a profession.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I said on stage. I still love my profession. I really do. And I think I'm hoping we don't lose what we've got. I think we've got something very special. And let me prove that to you. So I was in Morocco and I had to go and get a health certificate to get the animals out of Morocco. And I go into this vet's and he's a really cool dude. And I said, dude, how much are you? And he was like, nothing, you're a vet. I was like, really? Why? And he was like, vets look after vets. That's what we do. And he was like, I'm signing your forms. Thank you so much for coming to see me. We've had a blast. Toodle pip. And then I get to Portugal and I have to get their passports. So you convert your Moroccan paperwork into passports. And small, lovely little clinic. I go out to drinks with them, gone out to dinner, for lunch, all just off the back of being a vet with vets in a foreign country. I'm really proud of the little network that we still have. And I just don't want us to lose it.
I don't think we will. I think the sad thing is that a lot of new vets coming out won't have learned to be part of a community at college because they're too big. They're the COVID cohort, and so they wouldn't have seen the value in socializing. Rather worryingly, I heard someone refer to their life as a vet as a job the other day.
This is a good discussion topic because I see merit in both. In that I am still like you guys, where if I'm still at work an hour late, that's just part of my job. That's my ethos, and that's how I've been trained and how I've worked. But we do have to accept that there are changing viewpoints on this. And I think there is the availability for both attitudes. And I think that we should respect both attitudes. So I was at work and my niece and nephew came to visit me. And they're much younger than me. They're like 15 years younger than me, maybe even more, maybe 20. And they couldn't believe that I was still there 8:30 at night and I was supposed to have clocked off at 6. And they were just utterly unbelievable. They're like, you leave? And I was like, that's not the nature of my work. But I do respect that they have a different attitude and a different ambition. I think we've just got to find out how it works, what it looks like. I don't blame them for having boundaries that we've never had.
No, we always say work-life balance, but the older vets like us never really mean it, do we?
No.
What's the work-life balance? It means I probably won't die of liver failure until I'm 60.
50.
Yeah, something like that. Boundaries came up the other day, didn't it? It was in a discussion we had on VR, which of course is short for Veterinary Ramblings, and you can check out all the latest episodes on veterinaryramblings.com. But the younger generations have a remarkable ability to set their boundaries, don't they? Just, I think it bumps up against, certainly at my generation, a little bit. Probably because we're embarrassed that we didn't set those boundaries and we just carry on until that particular job is done.
I think you're right. Yeah. Neither of us is wrong.
Neither of us is wrong.
In our own context.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we all talk about how we have massive mental health concerns in the vet industry. There's many things that we can do better. But then how dare we say, no, you need to do it our way, because that's the way we've always done it. That's just wrong. But I do understand the feeling of us more old duffers, where I learnt to do the cool stuff out of hours. When all my colleagues had gone home and there's no one else, you just have to get on with it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I remember in my very first job.
That's where you get the DVDs and things.
Oh, exactly. And I remember clearly, now quite a minor procedure, but my first thoracocentesis. And a nurse taught me. It was 11 o'clock at night. And I just had to do it. And I think it's sad that they potentially don't get those opportunities through having tighter boundaries.
Yes, I think you're right. There was a time in my first job where I'd done more hairy laminectomies than cat spays.
Wow, you've just impressed me. I mean that sincerely.
No, don't be taken in, Hannah. Don't be taken in. And I think it's worth saying at this point also that it's very easy for us with our broad brushstrokes to cast a whole generation to the dogs because it's easy to do. And we've had some inspirational younger generation vets on this show, haven't we?
amazing ones. Absolutely, yeah.
And
The
you can
profession's in
check
safe
out,
hands.
check out, the profession's in very safe hands. You check out their episodes on veterinaryramblings.com.
I think, yeah, exactly. But
We stopped
we've
drinking
also got
alcohol for a while, didn't we? I wonder why.
Oh, I'm glad I've got alcohol personally. But no, so what we've got to realize is our audience is changing, and that the James Herriot maybe not the right figure anymore. And
Okay. So have you got any
Yes.
advice for any new graduates? Not that any new graduates listen to Veterinary Ramblings.
no,
They
good
might
God,
do.
no, they're doing better things with their time.
Yeah.
They're in the
thank you.
gym. Yeah. My advice, I was thinking about it the other day, is to not forget how varied your job could be as a vet. And I'm gonna explain this with humor that my father gave me. So I was at home having a year off again, working on cam, living in their shed down the bottom of the garden. And my dad, who was in his late 70s, went, "So, when are you going to go back to being a vet then, Hannah?" And I was like, "Dad, I am a vet." No. Like, "When are you going to go and be a vet again?" I was like, "Dad, I am still a vet. I'm working online as a vet." And he's like, "No, you need to." And I was like, "Good God, these traditional viewpoints are crazy." The different roles and the different opportunities you can have with our education is vast. And I think it's sad to hear that people are leaving the vet industry total. I think there's a lot of opportunities in the industry that might not be clinical. They might not be 8 till 6, 8 till 8, but they're still extremely valid.
They might be running arthritis clinics.
Oh, that's my plan. That's the
Do you
big
do
plan.
that, Julian? Who would do that?
I would.
I would.
All right.
Love it. The amount of good you can do by integrating multimodal therapeutics into arthritis is incredible.
Yeah, should we try and keep on topic then?
No, there is no topic. There is a topic.
No, I really believe this. Okay, I'm going to just totally hog the podcast and just do like a monologue.
Go on then.
But if you think about it,
Why don't you
in
take
our
a minute?
lifetimes, in my lifetime, I think your lifetimes are slightly longer than mine, but not by much, probably about 5 to 10 years. I'm 45. Have I complimented it too much there?
These young whippersnappers.
Have I
Oh,
been too
love that.
kind?
I just love the flattery. Oh,
I know, it's good, isn't it?
oh, bring it on.
So when I started work as a vet, behaviorism, clinical behavior did not exist. Veterinary behavior wasn't a thing. And you would have a 10-minute consult to not only vaccinate anal glands, nail clip, and work out why that dog was biting the next door neighbor's child. And look at what's happened now. It's completely transformed. So you've got angles like that. You've also got just different audience kind of understanding. So we've gone from collars to harness. Massive change in perception of what it's like to be a dog. So when you look at those two things and think, could we have dedicated chronic pain, osteoarthritis clinics? Yes, we can. And I was talking to the incredible, do you know Mary Gardner? You need her on a show. She talks more than me.
Yeah.
She's insane. Her empire that she's created for euthanasia and palliative care services over in America, Lap of Love, is utterly unbelievable. 300 veterinarians around the US work under the banner of Lap of Love.
Yeah.
Back in the years gone past, I
specialize. I was just about to say just doing euthanasias, specializing in euthanasias.
Yes, 100%. And when I started work, my boss, my original first independent boss, would have gone blown blue murder to give a euthanasia to an external company. You don't let it out of your sight. It's your business, it's your role, it's your job. But the fact that we now have these external companies where a vet practice can say, look, you want it in the home, you want time, we're going to be a bit too rushed, we're a bit too tight. There's this amazing company that are completely trained to offer you the service that you want. So I think it's possible that we'll have OA services.
I think so. It would be the same thing as referring to anything that the practice can't handle for whatever reasons on site. And that can be, we haven't got the facilities to do spinal surgery here, so we'll refer it. We haven't got the facilities to do an intensive medical workup, so we'll refer it. We haven't got the facilities on time to run an effective arthritis clinic, so we'll refer it. There's no difference, is there?
No.
As long as you've got the mindset as a vet to know that actually it's worth it. There's a lot that your patient can get rather than just, here's some meloxicam. Come back, we need more.
Should we break it down? Let's do this.
Mhm.
Let's do this. Now, me and Alan from Veterinary Dynamics were talking about a title. Chronic pain.
That's Alan Robinson.
Alan Robinson.
Yes, Alan Robinson for Veterinary Dynamics. No, I had a title for a lecture and we were deciding whether it was going to be received well, because chronic pain, veterinary care is very emotive. How dare you bring finances into it? And then I was like, I need to drag some people over the line with this one. So yeah, let's talk finances. So we were trying to pitch to an audience with the title, Chronic Pain or Profit. And unfortunately, whether people like it or not, it's profit. These services, be really frank about it. If they live longer whilst you're using your resources and services, they will reliably use your resources and services. So if we get it right, they will be with us for longer, utilizing the services that we are selling them. I don't understand why more practices aren't able to see that potential. It's a win-win for everybody. Win for the dog, win for the client, win for the vet, win for the vet practice.
Absolutely. I think there's part of the view that you mentioned about your old boss, that's money walking out the door because we referred it for something that we should be able to do, but we can't do it because we haven't got the resources. So it's a sort of looped thought, isn't it? Closed loop thought. Your argument, your business argument is great. Get them out, get them to a centre that can make them live longer and happier and with better welfare. They'll have other problems that they'll need.
But there's a business model in there somewhere.
Yeah, not huge.
There's a business model in there that both parties can benefit. So if you've got, say, a vet practice that are supplying the resources, like the non-human resources, so it might be the diets, it might be the blood sampling, it might be the medication. And then you've got an external practitioner that is independent, where actually service provision adds up to a decent salary. So if they're doing a number in a day, that easily meets and surpasses a locum wage, but they don't then have all the fuffle of the legislation involved with holding medicine, holding controlled drugs, all this sort of stuff. So I think there is a marriage there. We just haven't found it yet.
Absolutely. And it all needs to fit into the Veterinary Surgeons Act, which
it can do. So I've just set up a teleguidance service. And it's teleguidance because it's not telehealth and it's not telemedicine. It's in between. And it's okay because the Royal College is okay with this. I've got it all checked. And it's more of like a coaching service, because it's not me just saying, yeah, there's something wrong with your dog, go to your vet, which is telehealth. I don't mean to be rude. And it's not me actually prescribing, which is telemedicine. This is more, I understand what you're going through and I'm here to support and coach you through the decisions that you've now got to make, because they're big decisions. And we were talking to them about, are we safe? And they're like, well, you're a limited service provider, so you're fine. You've got very strong boundaries to what you're offering. And as long as you're very clear. So I do think there's the ability to have an external service, which is vet-led, which has these boundaries, which is a limited service provider, that a practice goes, do you know what? These dogs and clients are happier, they're living longer, but we're not losing out anything here.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good.
I just want to take the opportunity to talk about OA a little bit more, because that's
osteoarthritis.
this is an opportunity.
A lot of people
guys,
who watch and listen, can you imagine that people aren't vets? Amazing, isn't it? But OA, osteoarthritis, so what we would consider to be sore
joints, aches and pains in your joints. Well, they don't work properly anymore.
Let's stop that train of thought. Let's stop talking about it being painful joints, but let's start talking about it being painful bodies. And I think that's something that people don't engage with, the fact that the neuropathophysiology leads to these dogs being massively hypersensitized to pain. And it's not just pain in the joint. It's referred pain, it's compensatory pain, it's more susceptible to other acute pain experiences. So their world seriously starts going downhill. And I think we need to stop calling it pain in joints and actually realize that by the time that we identify it in the dogs that we care for, it's likely to be generalized. They're potentially even allergenic. And their wish not to socialize with the family might be that every time you touch me, it hurts. And it doesn't matter if you're not touching me near the joint, you're just touching me, it hurts. So I would love to grab the opportunity to highlight that this is a massive welfare concern. And I think that we need to stop using it as a household name. Oh, let me tell you my faux pas. This is a brilliant one.
Okay.
I got really annoyed about something very serious. And I'm not detracting at how important Alabama rot is. It is an extremely serious condition. But when you look at the fact that they've had 200 to 300 cases and we have 20,000, 200,000 cases of OA, there's a very big difference in people's attitude towards it. And when Alabama rot gets the headlines, people will start doing things like washing their dog's feet, even if they live in the middle of a village. You're at no risk. I'm washing my feet just in case. Okay, fine. So they've managed to grab this attention that arthritis hasn't got and sadly probably never will get. But it's potentially a greater health-related concern, health-related quality of life, lifespan, etc. So I renamed arthritis. I called it joint rot. And I put it out on socials and it went really well. It went really well. It got shared. I was suddenly a hero. Brilliant translational thinking. Got carried away, didn't I? Decided to call it joint cancer because it's also a terminal condition. Yeah, your faces say exactly what happened. Yeah. Went really downhill. Hero to, do you want to catch the bus home, Hannah? It's really fascinating working with the public and pushing these boundaries and seeing what floats and what doesn't.
But could you get joint rot back? Is joint rot dead, or is it can be revived?
I could revive it. I just feel that I had to go into hiding a while.
So that's why you've been going around Europe for 10 months. Now we know the answer.
I know, that's probably after. I'm in hiding from my social media lady because I've got a new hashtag. You're going to love this. I've got a thing about bull throws. Do you know what I think about bull throws? So I
didn't know you had a thing about them.
I've got a thing about them.
These are those extra springy things that come from who was it used to, spear throwers, and it's an ancient weapon.
What a bull throw?
It is, yeah. The Romans used them. And
because it lengthens the lever, and therefore the missile on the end of that lengthened lever leaves the sender.
So it's like a catapult, but it's like a catapult.
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing. It works more on the lever principle, I think, doesn't it?
Or a trebuchet, if you want to get it into that.
Yeah. A trebuchet.
A trebuchet.
They're those huge, great catapult type things that
they have a big double arm, but on the end of that arm is a long sling that the missile is in at the far end. So the arm goes up and over.
Oh, I've seen the
then
films.
It drags the sling over, and just like a ball thrower for launching your ball half a mile instead of just throwing it 50 meters, that's where it all comes from.
But that's like a double fulcrum, then, isn't it? It's a fulcrum.
There's a double fulcrum, yeah. But it means that you can.
A rude word, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the ball throwers already have a double fulcrum because it's your arm. In fact, it could be a triple one, depending on whether you use your shoulder and elbow or.
Yeah.
It's true. And the funniest thing is a lot of people use bull throws when they can't actually throw anymore because they've probably got a shoulder pain or elbow pain or wrist pain, and they're throwing a ball.
No, they haven't. They've got joint rot because they've got old.
They've got joint rot. Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad that you're going to start using it.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I've got to thing where I just wish people were a little bit more aware of what they can do behaviorally and physically. Dogs are there to please us. They are very likely to take on these kind of like compulsive type behaviors. If they get a thrill, they're going to repeat it. Ball throwing fills their boots. So we've got a hashtag your dog more years. We've got a hashtag more rugs, less drugs. And we've got a hashtag dog or log for overweight dogs. And I came up with a new hashtag the other day, which is dicks with balls. And she said no. I'm really sad about that because I
Oh,
think
what a
it's got a lot
shame.
of ring to it.
What?
I know.
What? What?
Sadly, you're not ever going to see that go live.
It's going to go live after this.
What? Richards with balls?
I know.
Yes. Richards with spheres.
Yes.
I don't understand.
Yes. Richard Smith's face.
I'm
Oh,
lost.
Mike.
What?
Hurry up, Mike.
Presumably
gonna
it means a lot of people called Richard are overweight. It's quite simple, really, isn't it? Easy
Yeah. Or
concept.
people that are using ball chuckers are potentially a bit knob-ends.
All that. Yeah.
So is that you're not a great fan of people using ball throwers to exercise and entertain their dogs?
I think that we don't realize the damage that can be done with them. I think that a bit like I was saying, we've gone from collars to harnesses with just this smooth change in attitude. When did ball chuckers arrive? When did balls arrive? How many oil paintings in the National Gallery do you see with a guy, his gun, 2 Cocker Spaniels and a tennis ball?
Ooh, this goes with mental lists of them.
Yeah, but
Haven't come up with any yet.
No,
Well, no,
it's
there's-
interesting though, isn't it?
no,
Yeah.
because because when you're doing the hunty thing, you're not doing ball chucking, are you?
No, but we've now got a situation where every child's book that involves a cartoon character dog, they have a bone or a ball. It's almost like the
Oh.
two just come together and no one actually ever goes, where did that come from? And
Interesting.
is that okay?
It's better than a stick, though, isn't it?
Better than a stick. Everything's better
It
than
is a stick because we're vets. So we're thinking about the biomedical, we're thinking about the harm that a stick can do because we can visualize. Oh, do you know what? I actually had a dog once that the stick injury had caused so much damage to the esophagus, but the dog was absolutely fine, carried on eating, and its food went outside of the esophagus into its neck. I've had a stick injury where it's done its
Was that a
carotid,
Labrador?
it bled out.
That was a Labrador, wasn't it?
I don't know what it was. It was years ago. I'm old now.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, stick injuries are bad, but they alert us as a vets because we're there to medically intervene. But ball obsession, we don't delve into that world because we're not behaviorists. But when you think about what it will do to a dog, obsessive after that ball, and they will go through pain. They will go through physical exhaustion to keep getting that ball. And the owner's going, he's loving it. Look at his face. And I'm like, he's grimacing the hell out of his face. That is not a happy face. That's I'm utterly wired.
it's the
And
face
I
of
don't
a
think we
dog
really understand it.
junkie, isn't it? Ball junkie.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think we need to educate owners about using them in moderation. It's very interesting being outside of the UK and looking at what is bothering people. And I think it's really difficult when you've been in a country where people literally have nothing. And I found it a very difficult kind of like twist where you watch something on the news and you hear about one circumstance in the UK which is seriously bad. And you're like, this is really bad over here too. The world is a very strange place at the moment.
It is, isn't it?
It is.
Very strange place.
But
So-
you're trying to make one part of it better, which is dogs being more comfortable and cats, but dogs.
Yeah. My exciting news, I've got to tell you my exciting news.
Go on then.
So there is an actual other me. There's another me who's way cleverer, way more accomplished, and lives in America. And she's called Dr. Kristen Kirkby Shaw. And she runs a US equivalent of CAM called Canine Arthritis Resources and Education. And unbeknown to each other, we started pretty much at the same time. And we didn't know about each other. And years passed where she was creating her world and I was creating my world. And when we finally heard about each other, it was like, oh my God, this was about 2018. And she ended up stepping away from her platform because, like with me, it was just all consuming and not non-returning. And she still had a career to follow. So she went off and worked for pharma for a while. So she's board certified in surgery, board certified in rehab. She's got a master's in something. She's got a PhD in something. She's incredible. And she was like, whoa, I'm going to carry on my career. But she stepped back in the last like 3 months. She's decided to step away from pharma and come back to her roots care. So we're collaborating.
Fantastic.
Excellent. I'm just looking at her website here, Care.
Yeah.
Kristen Kirkby Shaw. I apologise.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
The big problem I've always had with arthritis is convincing the owners that there's a problem. Now, the owners that come in and say, my dog has arthritis and what can you do about it? They're the ones I kneel at their feet and kiss them and say, we can make your dog better. We can do such a lot. But it's the ones that come in and say, oh, he's always slowing down a bit. It's his age. He's not just slowing down. He's slowing down because he's actually in a great deal of pain. No, it's not. And they don't come back and see you anymore unless you handle it properly that time. And that's the bit that really takes an awful lot of finessing, because what you don't want to do is make them think, I want to spend lots of your money.
You don't want to make them feel guilty.
Absolutely.
Their first reaction is, how dare you say
yes, I
to
love
me
my
something
dog.
that
I love my dog. He's part of
can't
the family.
see.
I would know. Yeah.
Yeah. Pain is a very emotive word. It's really interesting that you said that, because I would say out of all the inquiries that we get, be it canine professional, veterinary professional, the majority are, how do I do this better? But it's not just with the caregiver, it's also with colleagues. So we have vet nurses that write to us and say, I'm really struggling. I'm working in practice. I see these cases. My colleagues just don't believe that they're really that big a problem. So this ability to define and illustrate and show, yes, this is painful, and we all agree, is something that we really need to be working on. And it's one of those things that I think, actually, I'm not board certified in surgery. I'm not board certified in rehab. I'm not a master's or PhD holder. Maybe it's something that I would be able to help with, because I'm very owner-centric now. I've spent years doing CAM. Is that where CAM will blossom, and we'll use all of these caregivers? We've got, I think, about 100,000 caregivers on all the different platforms now, that we could approach these and the canine professionals and go, right, so how are we going to have that common language? How can we approach an owner and say, I believe your pet's in pain, for them not to be offended, for them not to recoil, for them not to get defensive? It's a really big problem. I think, again, I'm just going to rant, because it's not a rant. It's just
you go ahead and rant.
It's an opportunity. I think one of the things that the biggest tip I can give to people is, don't think that you're going to change the world in 10 minutes, and have plan A, plan B, and plan C, and think to yourself, I'm going to see how they engage with me suggesting it. I'm going to watch their response. Depending on their response, it might be more appropriate that I say, I've got some suspicions. I'd really like you to think about these, and I am available for us to talk about this again. And I suggest that we see each other again at the next available opportunity. Or it might be that you feel that they have started to get a bit frosty with you. So you say, look, there's a resource that I'd really like you to go to. I can understand that it's something that you haven't wanted to hear. I really haven't wanted to upset you. When you are ready, please look at this resource and go to this page, because there's some of these observations that you've mentioned, we've seen together, that really are quite prominent in a chronic pain potential. There's so many different ways that we can do it, but we tend to have just plan A, and then we berate them when they don't engage with us. I told them, they didn't like it.
Yep, we do. And we push them away. We class them as people who just aren't interested.
No, and that's not my experience. My experience online, when they're at home having a cup of tea, gin and tonic, they've got their iPad, all the stresses of the vet practice have gone. They can process, they can think about it, they can do a little bit of resourcing. They're like, do you really think so? And what can I do? Their instant reaction is, do you really think so? What can I do? And we're not seeing that side of it, because I think we see that very defensive. And the nature of our consults, 15 minutes maximum in a small, slippery, floored, busy practice.
You mentioned there, Hannah, changing the world in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you kept up with Veterinary Ramblings whilst you've been travelling? Do you get your regular you get your
I've been
regular
having
podcast?
a little dabble. I had a little bit of research because I
Ah.
didn't really want to spend an evening where I could be drinking gin and tonics in France talking to a couple of old duffers where it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Well, there
And
you
it
go.
turns out that you're actually quite popular.
Well,
Well,
you're not going to
Veterinary
get off it with
Ramblings
that.
is-
You're not
I don't
going to
know
get
whether
away
we
with
are.
that. That's no way. Much flattery will get you most places, but not everywhere. Knowing that you do keep up with Veterinary Ramblings, and you'll be very familiar that we don't try and change the world in 10 minutes. We try and change the world in 1 minute.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
aware of this.
The 60-second CPD challenge.
Okay.
You've heard of this, have you?
Yeah, I'm game on.
Game on. Oh, perfect. Let me get the timer set up then. And let's. So, what are you going to do your 60-second CPD on then?
I think it's the most obvious topic in the world, considering it's me. It's going to be arthritis.
Oh, aren't you going to do how to keep your camper van?
Hemilaminectomies, I think that's just Julian's little area, considering he does more than cat space.
So,
Camper
you
van care.
so what are you going to do 60-second CPD on then?
I want people to have a crib sheet in their head about what they're trying to achieve with an OA case.
Okay, so
Brilliant.
crib sheets on OA cases. Or crib sheets on joint rot.
Mental crib sheet. Okay.
Right.
ready.
Okay, 60 seconds on mental crib sheets on joint rot. Hannah Capon, starting now.
So you have a suspected OA case come into your consult room. What I need you to do is think about your management plan. First of all, we're going to divide it into a cube. And we've got 4 cubes within that cube. First of all, we're going to be thinking about the actual disease process. So that's going to be the localized disease, which is going to be related to the joint. Then we're also going to be thinking about that nervous system, this wound up, amplified signaling system, and the fact that that dog is very likely hypersensitized to pain. And we're going to have a plan of action of trying to modulate that system, which is driving those messages of pain. But we also need to be really cognizant of the consequences of being in chronic pain. So there's going to be physiological, physical, emotional, and cognitive consequences. But we also need to have an acute flare plan. So this cube structure in your head means that you are able to tackle all elements that are really important in that case.
And that's perfect. That was
Wow.
a millisecond. Amazing.
I'm glad that you gave me a clock.
I
We-
thought with
that's-
10 seconds to go, this is going to go over. This is going to be
Me
extra
too.
time.
Me, I was worrying even before that. I thought 16 seconds. You still got 2 cubes to go.
Oh, my word.
Oh, no,
That
because
was
I'm going to
amazing.
leave them thinking, what are these consequences? What is this
Yeah.
acute flare? They need to come to CAM and learn more.
Oh, I
They
like
do.
that.
And
Oh,
actually, they
that's
could
clever.
go to your website and access some of your resources.
Yeah, definitely. And so let's just use acute flare as a topic for them to go, oh, I need to know more about this. So we
an
know.
acute flare. What do you want to explain acute flare to our perhaps non-veterinary?
To aviators, what that is where you're coming into land too quickly. So
Yeah.
what you do is you flare either the
Yes.
aircraft
Mhm.
or the helicopter blades, which then puts a big surface area against
Do you
see.
fly
wind
helicopters?
resistance. So it slows you down a lot quicker.
Is your company doing very well?
It was until Mike started flying helicopters and they went belly up. So I saw this gorgeous girl the other day and she was wearing acute flares.
They're back in fashion.
They are.
Are they?
Yeah,
God.
I remember the first time they came around though.
But lucky I
Yeah.
didn't throw mine away.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, as we get older, the tops of our legs become a bit more tree trunky. So they don't get that same look. When you have the slender leg and flare, you now have the trunk and flare.
Yeah, I now have to wear mine upside down for them to fit in.
There we go. So we've dealt with the definition of flare then.
So-
Yeah, we
Okay,
talked
let me tell you about acute flares. Believe it or not, there's very little literature about it. There's none in the vet sector, and there's still very little in the human sector. But it's something that everybody that has osteoarthritis, they get these flare-ups in pain.
Mm.
And as a human, because we can verbalize, we can say, my arthritis in my joint is really angry at the moment. And they tend to fall into 3 categories, which is incident related, i.e. they've been kneeling down, they've been putting their knees through something that has pushed them to their limits, or they're inappropriate pharmaceuticals, i.e. end of dose plasma levels, i.e. their pharmaceuticals are not being used and maintaining.
Mhm.
And the other one is
weather.
idiopathic, i.e. Weather is interesting because actually it's not as clear cut as people say. Some people in damp, humid weather have relief from pain, and other people have profound pain. So weather's still not right up there.
Hmm.
But in the veterinary sector, we know very little about it, and we translate a lot from the human sector. But when you think about it, the cases that we see as first opinion practitioners, they're progressed OA by the time we see them, but the owner suddenly reports he's really limping. So that must be acute flares that we're seeing.
Mhm.
So we see them on an everyday basis, but we just don't label them. We just lump them under the OA heading. So acute flares, there's a couple of studies in the human sector where they're like trying to look into them in greater detail. But what we need to do is think about, as the vet sector, do we give our clients acute flare plans? Knowing that it's a chronic disease where it waxes and wanes, but it has acute decompensations. Those acute decompensations, no matter what the cause, be it that they've overdone it as a weekend warrior, they've jumped off the sofa, do we equip our caregivers with the tools to manage that acute decompensation, or do they come running to our door or a emergency service door because it's a Sunday night? Then they get angry with us because they've got an £800 bill for an acute flare, which we could have equipped them for by saying, your dog will have acute decompensations. Here's your backup plan. If it happens on a Sunday night, do this. I'm going to be available Monday. So there's that area that we could keep the caregiver so much happier, but we don't even talk about it. And we have a resource
flare
for
up
you.
getting even worse. We can prevent that flare up developing into something that then has the dog unable to get up on the Monday morning.
This is
and
what's
then
interesting
put to
about
sleep.
acute flares in the human sector. They believe that initially they have a role. They're actually got a positive purpose in that they bring this joint back into a homeostatic balance, in that you have a flare, the inflammatory response clears up some debris, and we get back to a good baseline. So initially they believe that they have purpose, but because the disease progresses, they start becoming more severe, longer duration, etc., and they start coalescing into a consistent deleterious pain state. But we don't know in the vet sector. But what I feel very driven to do, being very owner-centric, is why don't we say to owners on a diagnosis, your dog is likely to have a waxing and waning with acute decompensations. And now if that happens, I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to immediately phone the emergency line. I don't want you to fit a bill of £1,000 for being seen at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday night. This is what you're going to do, and then you're going to come and see me. What different thing that is, isn't it? It's completely different. And don't worry, vets, I'm not making your life harder. There is a resource in CAM. There's an acute flare kit for owners, and there's an acute flare kit for vets. So if you as a vet want to know more about it, we've created a resource where you can learn more about the topic, but we've made a really condensed owner-friendly version. And it gives them tools so that they can be a lot more empowered to manage it rather than pressing the panic button.
So for the 5 vets in practice that listen to the show, and I'd like the 50 million, the rest of you, to just listen away for a second. So where can you get this resource that helps explain this so beautifully?
Okay, so we have the mothership, which is caninearthritis.co.uk. So that is the website, and you can get to all of our social media resources from there. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So you can get to there from there. But we also have our education center, which has courses for owners, canine professionals, and veterinary professionals. You can also get to our shop. Please go to our shop. We try and self-fund. And that has no pharmaceuticals or supplements or therapeutic devices. It's all about lifestyle. It's all about trying to get the owner engaged in managing. But we also have a member zone. So the member zone is our way, for a very small fee, it's £25 for the year. And be you a vet professional, be you a caregiver, you go into the member zone and you have countless resources. So how-to videos, Garlemire have stepped forward with a how to learn to massage your dog. ACE Free Work have come in. They've made a little course. We've got Cam Black doing his regenerative medicine section. We've got David Somerville coming to talk about electrotherapy, so how laser and stuff works. We've got Joe, one of our team, talking about emotional wellness for the actual caregiver. There is so much in there, and there's loads of resources and booklets, etc. in there. And for a very measly sum of 25 quid for a year, we would really like you to come and join. And that's where you'll find our It's My Home 2 tool, recently diagnosed, acute flare kit. We've got 15 booklets.
Wow.
It's all in there.
Mm-hmm.
So do you sell discounted fling and fletch?
Do you know what? I cut them up, actually. I just cut them in half, take photos. I did that during COVID. I was stranded at my parents' house, and I found in my mother's garage, because she's a hoarder, she can't throw anything away. She has things that she's never used and never will use, but she keeps them just in case. And I found 3 ball chuckers, and I was like, what the shit's this about? So I got my dad's little hacksaw blade out of his workshop, and I cut them in half. And I presented them as a pile of rubble, and I took a photo and I put it on social media. I went crazy. There were so many people going, yes! Thank God someone's standing up and saying, why are we doing this?
And
So,
your mum
yeah.
said, Hannah Capon, I did not bring you up to behave like this.
So I was going to use them to
Willful
plant
malicious.
tulips. Whatever.
You didn't know.
Tulips.
I didn't know.
Whack the tulip
didn't
bulbs down
know.
as hard as you can into the ground.
No, you don't. You go to
I
the
know.
farmer's field where he's ploughed it all up in nice rows,
yeah.
and you stand on the other side of the hedge, and you can throw flowers into the field, the bulbs,
Amazing.
and so
Oh,
you.
Proper
Great. Yeah,
cartoon
think of
character.
He thinks he's
Excellent.
growing wheat,
Yeah.
but actually he's growing tulips.
Your
Love it.
tulips.
My
His
tulips.
fertilizer. Love it.
Yeah. His fertilizer, his land care, and then you go along and you crop them off and you sell them to the local.
Do you not think the
tomato shop.
farmers are having a hard enough time as it is for you stealing their fertile soil for your tulips?
Now you have missed out on the sun this week, haven't you?
No, I have not. As you can see from my rosy cheeks, I've not
No,
missed
she's
out on
having
the
a
sun.
nice brush. I think, yeah, it's
okay.
lovely. Nice
Very quick,
gleaming
very
white teeth
clever.
in the middle of it. It's good.
Yeah. So what you'll have missed, I'm going to mention this, and then we're going to move on to certificates because he's been working hard.
Considering that you've been in
Because-
Spain for 6 weeks, it doesn't show, dude.
No, it's all right. It's okay. No, there's a guy who lost his wife to cancer and is cycling self-supported the length of the country on his bike, and he's pitching his tent, bivouacking out of the way, keeping everything neat and tidy. And a farmer drove past the field that he was in. He was tucked away nice and neat by the thing. So the farmer went back, drove into the field and sprayed him with slurry. And he videoed it and he put it on social media. So yeah, farmers have a hard time, but sometimes they don't.
Fair though, the
Everyone
farmer
can be a dick at
probably
times,
puts up
can't
with
they?
people like me that park up in their van, and he's probably over it. He's probably had 5 years of people taking the piss on his land,
Quite probably.
literally.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that dude was doing some
No.
serious charity work.
No,
No,
I know.
absolutely. And how would you know? The polite thing would have been to say, excuse me, can I park in your field here? But,
Yeah.
It would have been. Or
But his
oi,
house might have been 20 miles away. Let's
Oi.
be fair.
why have you camped in my field?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the other polite thing to do, isn't it?
And that goes back
It's
to
all
a
about
really, really
civility.
important
It's
It's all
topic
about
about.
civility.
But that's what OA is about, is communication.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what
chronic
all-
disease.
That's what all the veterinary world is about, communication. And
It
actually,
is.
that's what the whole world should be about.
Yeah.
For example, communicating that you've done a particularly great bit of CPD for us. And so I'm going to give you a certificate for that.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
I think we should actually.
I actually have got the RVC on my case at the moment because I haven't done my 1 CPD card for a while.
Yeah.
I dare you. I dare you.
I know, I'm in trouble.
There's
No,
a
no, I
minute, there's
dare
a
you.
minute now. Put this on it.
We dare you.
Put a minute on and send it back.
You've done your preparation.
I've started. There's only
You've
4
delivered-
hours, 59 minutes left.
You've delivered your CPD, and here's a certificate to show so. Julian.
Amazing.
We need to reflect that. We'll get a certificate to reflect it.
Okay, fair enough. To get your full RCVS
Minute.
CPD allowance, it is a requirement that you reflect on something, whether that be joint rot.
Or a reflection on the fact that I've spent an hour and a half talking to two people we have hardly touched on our way.
It's better than the first Veterinary Ramblings Mike and I ever recorded, where we were supposed to. Our remit was to get onto Zoom during lockdown and record a lecture we were supposed to be doing in the States. And was it 4.5 hours later, 5 hours later, we're completely rat-arsed, both of us. And I don't think we'd even mentioned anaesthesia.
No, but I'm quite disappointed, actually. I am very disappointed.
Oh,
With what?
This is my reflection.
I'm sorry.
Is that I have seen a Coke can, a mug, and I've seen no wine, I've seen no whiskey, and I've seen no beer.
What do you think was in this mug?
Oh, he's got beer. What's in your mug?
What was in the? It's rum and Coke. I had some.
Oh, thank
Coke
God for
left over.
that. I was thinking
So-
you're a tea drinker. I was
Oh,
like
good heavens.
shocked.
I say, come on, credit us with something here. I had a bit of Coke left over from the rum and Coke. You don't want to put too much Coke in.
I
do
was
you?
thinking, so they're all a facade. It's because there's a real need for pub talk, isn't it? Pub talk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
really-
But we
that's
normally
all
do
about
it sober.
So,
God, don't do that.
so you're
Come on,
clearly
then.
not going
Ex-
to reflect.
Have you
Or
got
have
no certificate? We can't have a certificate until we've had a reflection question.
Okay, there you're right.
A reflection question.
What would you like our audience to reflect on?
Oh, okay. No, I know that. Very simple. Say that you've done a really good job and you followed the cube and you've done localized, amplified signaling system, consequences, acute flare. What do you really need to make sure that you do that's going to make you the epic vet is to check in and reassess. So nothing comes with a promise. Nothing comes with a promise. And you might be absolutely assured that dog is an OA candidate and they're going to respond brilliantly to that non-steroidal. Don't see them in 6 months. See them in 2 weeks. Check in whether what you have suggested is working. Because at the end of the day, that dog's going, hey, I feel exactly the same. I know you're shoving these pills down me and my owner's really pissed off. It's £80 a month. I don't feel any different. So we need to be cognizant of not just patting ourselves on the back for that first assessment, but we need to reassess.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense and a good reflection. And now you can get the certificate.
Oh, thank you.
And it says certificate of being truly flissy. Okay.
Love
so
that.
what have we got here? We've got a dog with a really poorly elbow. Look at that. The elbow stuck out to
you.
one side and it's swollen. And there's a really nasty elbow arthritis going on.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
And then that's my
photograph
little
of
dog.
me on my bloody.
Actually, I'm going to whisper this because my wife might be overhearing, but that's my mother-in-law on her mobile scooter. And she looked after our dog for the weekend. And look, our little dog's getting a ride on her mobility
I love
scooter
it. Dog's quids in there.
there.
I lent you that
I-
blazer because you said you were going to use it, not give it to your mother.
I'll get back to that one later. But
Okay.
that's what you look like if you're in chronic pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was me. That was me in chronic pain there.
It's not you, really. Is it you?
That's me. Yeah,
You look
that's me.
Uncle Fester.
Yeah, it was a Halloween party.
Oh, good, good. That's good.
Yeah,
I
for
was-
the
I was a
viewers,
zombie.
for the listeners, that's a pretty horrific photograph. And that's why we ask you to support Veterinary Ramblings so that we can afford the makeup lady to come in before we record each show and make Julian look like he does today, because
Yes.
that picture is what he normally looks like.
Yeah, Uncle Fester is.
Yeah.
As Mike said. Here's a tarsal arthritis,
That's some heavy metal work.
heavy metal work,
There,
but
isn't
dog
there?
was comfortable afterwards. And so there we go. Job done.
Nice.
And there's a camper van with a little awning outside. That's not Mike's one.
I was going to say that is a Swift kind of like
Is it?
plastic
No, it's not ours.
fantastic.
That's
No, I was
a
gonna say.
nice one, isn't it? But these are those people who would just sit outside
They
the
have a
camper van.
satellite dish.
They've
that
shielded themselves
up.
off from the outside world. You see that?
Yeah. Yeah.
They,
Van
we
life,
were-
you need to be social. You need to
Yeah.
open the door and hello world.
no, these have brought their little home with them. They don't care where they are. This was on one of the most beautiful parts of Dorset. And
Yeah.
they weren't they were looking at the camper van and they weren't able to turn around and see the sea because this shielding was there. Anyway, and the last picture there is a giant sloth or giant sleuth, I'm not fussy, a giant sloth skeleton. That was at the Oxford. Is it Horniman? Anyway, the Oxford Natural History Museum. And you can't really see it. Doesn't come out well in this picture. But if you go to Oxford, to the Natural History Museum, and look at this skeleton of a giant sloth, you'll see that it has bilateral hip dysplasia with osteoarthritis and with bony changes on the hip.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And so this poor thing, they've got it standing up, eating leaves. I don't think this giant sloth would have been able to stand up.
No,
I think it was in such a lot of pain. I think it would just have been able to grumble along. Or
By
growl
the
down.
look of its condition, it wasn't able to eat either. It's just bones, isn't it?
It's like this, like the joke about the skeleton that goes into a pub and says, "I'll have a pint of beer and a mop."
Oh,
Yeah, it takes a while to come back.
painful.
Yeah.
That's like the same as two fish in a tank. One says to the other one, "How do you drive this thing?"
Yeah.
Mike is switching off, going, "I need to leave these two on their own.
We-
They can just."
When we
We
first
stopped.
started doing
We stopped doing
Veterinary
the joke.
Ramblings, I used to do a joke. Except we put up with it Mike put up with it for about 6 months. Then he said, "No more." No, I think I was halfway through telling it. He said, "No, that's it. We're not going to do the joke anymore." So we never have until now.
Oh,
No.
revelation.
This is a good one. How do you
Oh,
get
go
a
on, let's
1,000
go on.
Pikachus on a bus?
I don't know.
Pokemon.
Like
Excellent.
that one.
Okay,
But
here
we
you go
haven't
then,
asked-
Julian.
Well,
Here
we-
you go. Here you go.
Okay, I'll
Right.
do it.
You're feeling quite relaxed, aren't you? Because we've chatted to Hannah for
Yeah,
quite
bit
a
of
while
rum and
now.
coke.
Let's see if you can do it.
Oh,
Friendly
you asked the
face.
question. We
Friend-
normally ask this question near the beginning.
Okay. All right. I'll ask the question. Hannah,
Yes.
what is
Oh,
your
right.
favourite bread?
It's very easy. It's
Oh.
very easy.
Mm.
And it's also almost like my dirty secret. It's a very dirty secret because I can devour one in one sitting. Is the olive ciabatta bread from the co-op.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad. Actually, no, seriously, health warning. You buy one, they're like £1.80. They were when I left the UK.
No, they're
probably are now.
£3.95 now.
Jeez.
yeah, they've got up.
I won't be devouring them anymore.
It's called
But-
inflation. Yeah.
The olive ciabatta, if
Yeah.
it comes warm, you can just eat it then. But then if you were to let it go a little bit stale because you're trying to moderate how much you eat, then you can toast it, and being plant-based butter. Oh my God, it's divine. Seriously, can spend a long time on my own just with olive ciabatta bread.
It sounds good. I was going to show you one of mine. I can't find it.
Oh, no, here we go. Fortunately, by asking the question at the end, it gives us the opportunity to say if you've enjoyed listening to Hannah Capon, who's joined us from her travels around Europe and learning about osteoarthritis or joint rot, which I really rather joint rot, then please don't forget, drop us a line, like, share, tell your friends about it. It's good fun. And please, please, please subscribe because it really, really does make a difference. And so, on that note, Hannah Capon, thank you very, very much indeed for joining with us. May your dogs go with you.
May your dogs
Thank
go
you
with
so
you.
much.
Cheers.
Thank you guys. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you
More
so much for the opportunity. And thank you for the opportunity to network. And I'm going to say this sincerely from the heart. Thank you for being like open and networky, because sometimes the vet profession can be a bit closed. And I think you've just demonstrated the potential of what we really are, which is freaking hell. That was cool. I want to know more about it. And I think sometimes the vet industry is becoming a little bit competitive. So thank you so much. You've given me a lot more faith.
You're very
Good.
welcome.
I
Thank
think-
you for
I think,
joining us. Travel safe, Hannah. It's been
Take care.
lovely
See you
meeting you.
later.
You
Bye.
take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.